Hello, warriors. Welcome to the U movement. I am B. Well, last night was a doozy. I don't know how you guys made it through last night, but for me, there were a lot of nightmares and a lot of purging. I haven't done that in a while, but one thing I have discovered on this kundalini awakening path, this twin flame journey, is when stuff happens in the sky, stuff happens here. So we have new moon, and you know, I used to think full moons were a doozy. New moons have been a doozy for the last little while as well. We also had the solar eclipse. And tomorrow we are moving Neptune into a brand new sign, the sign of Aries, which is firing, new beginnings, rebirth. These are the kind of themes that are coming up. As I've said, I keep seeing over and over the chicken and the egg. I also have felt literally like my head was stuck in the birth canal. And we are in Aries energy, which is the beginning of the astrological calendar. We are also closing out this eclipse portal, and with Neptune now moving, I've said in other videos, okay, like I'm not an astrologer and I'm just giving you the highlights. If you want a deep dive into astrology, I can recommend a good few astrologers. I don't really listen to astrology much. I just know the highlights. I just know the big movements, and then I go within and get the information from an inside source. At this stage of the game on my awakening, I'm not seeking, people keep sending me videos and you check this out, and I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks. No, I'm meditating. I spend a lot of time in meditation at the current moment in time, and doing self-healings, Reiki work, and comforting, soothing, reparenting, reprogramming, and the energy that I'm picking up on. There was the highlight of Neptune moving. Okay, so Neptune moving, it symbolizes our spirituality, the divine presence. And moving into a new sign. It hasn't been in Aries in 165 years. It moves signs every 14 or so years. So this year's Neptune is just moved. Tomorrow is moving into Aries. So new beginnings, rebirth in the spirituality realm. And it will be going retrograde back into Pisces energy in October, and then going redirect again, and then staying there for another 14 years in January of next year. So it's pretty much doing a similar dance that Pluto did, because Pluto last year kicked off this procession of new energies coming in. Pluto moved last year into Aquarius from Pisces, the first time doing that in long time, because Pisces is like 20-year cycles. Neptune is 14-year cycles. So Pluto kicked off the show. You go to the football game, not that I've ever actually sat down and watched a football game, but somebody kicks a ball, right? The kickoff, isn't that a thing? So Pluto did the kickoff. Before Pluto kicked off, we were in the pre-show. There's a pre-show, right? So we were in a pre-show for a long time. It was preparatory energy. And then Pluto kicked things off. And now Neptune has grabbed the ball and is running with it. I have no idea why I'm doing football analogies here, because I don't honestly think I've actually ever watched a full football game. This is American football I'm talking about. Sports is not my thing. But here we go. We're channeling football analogies, so maybe somebody out there is really into football. And so Neptune's now gonna pick up the ball that Pluto kicked off, and it's gonna run with it to get a touchdown. And then the rest of the planets, all of them are moving into new positions. None of them have been in this position in our lifetime. So we're going, what I mean is, like these have been 165 years. That's what beyond our lifetime, right? So the outer planets have never been in this sign, nor will they ever again be in this sign in our lifetime. So this is new energy for us, brand new energy for us. We've never played this particular game before with these particular players in these particular positions. And this is huge. This is really huge. So Pluto, it was like, yay, Age of Aquarius has begun. Woo! The crowd goes wild. And now Neptune goes, okay, it's time now to have some action and put your money where your mouth is, kind of thing. Some truth is coming in the realm of our spirituality. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about this because the one little thing that I read was like, this is moving us from a passive spirituality into an action-oriented spirituality. What does that mean? Okay, so this awakening process that we have been on for a long period of time has been transforming us, transforming everything about us. Our nervous system is being reset, and like that itself, I could have never foreseen in a million years how much rest and how much downtime, recalibration time was going to be required to reset my nervous system after going through everything I went through in Dark Night of the Soul. And not only in Dark Night of the Soul, but my whole life. Because when you are born and raised in trauma, you're running on first gear kind of always, and then that gear. Oh, now we're doing car analogies. I don't know what's up today. I don't even drive. Okay, so you're in first gear always. You're always in a mild state of a low speed state of fight or flight, of readiness, preparedness, hypervigilance, constant observation. What do I need to do? I need to catastrophize, so worry. I need to think about this. I need to think about that. I need to understand all the energies that are at play all at once. I have to have no boundaries whatsoever, because having boundaries would minimize how much I could read other people's energy. And I can see micro expressions on people's faces and know when they're angry or when they're not. I can hear a breath. They're pissed. They're coming for me. I know that breath before. I can sense a twitch. I can observe a twitch. I can just feel the vibration. So we're always on go. We're never in neutral. We're never ever in neutral when you are raised in an environment where there's trauma. And then what happens is when there is like a rage situation, or you're getting hit, or you're getting, other abuses are coming in, you then move yourself into like fourth gear. Or you're like, now I'm got to be like really on the ready. And now I got to be stoic and not show I'm being affected, and not cry and not emote, and be like strong and all of these other things. So we're constantly in a state of readiness, in doing, because even when we're not doing, we're still doing, because we're sitting there and we're observing like there's no tomorrow. We're observing absolutely everything. So our empathy gets overworked, way more overworked that's possible, because the paradigm that is a narcissistic individual with an empath is they're constantly milking that empathy to keep you hooked. okay? Keep you hooked. So your empathy is actually like weaponized and used against you. I better like behave. I better do this. They're having a bad day. See, we're always concerned about what they're doing or what they're feeling or what the energies are. And we completely negate self, completely and utterly negate self. And then on this journey that we found ourselves on, we go through life, the rest of our lives, in these constant go, right? Now, I can only assume if you're driving a car and you're constantly on the go, eventually you're going to run out of gas if you don't stop the car and fill up. But even if you do, let's say you stop the car and you fill up and you keep the car in idle, which you're not supposed to do, you're supposed to like completely shut it down. So you're only really shutting it down for like, I don't know, as long as it takes to fill it up. So as long as it takes to have a meal, and I'm still kind of on alert and looking around, as long as it takes to like burn yourself to the point where I gotta sleep now, so I'll shut it down there. But throughout the day, you're still revving that engine and driving that car nonstop, all the time, every single day. And then eventually the car is going to break down because no car was designed to go in that, to be utilized like that. And that's how we've been utilizing our bodies, is to be on the go all the time, always at the ready, always on the alert, and just doing, because if we're doing, we're proving our worth. And if we're doing, we're accomplishing things which make us feel better and we get a dopamine hit. And if we're doing, and so then we get sick. Car breaks down, our body breaks down, and that looks like sickness or disease or burnout or, according to polyvagal, it's like a ladder and you hit the bottom rung, and that's not a good thing. So what happens is you have this awakening, this crazy situation that occurs that triggers as a catalyst. For me, it was this twin flame, meaning my kundalini was activated, this catalytic moment of like, all of a sudden, all this energy is flowing through me, and just started the process of purge and releasing all of these old programs, all of these old behaviors. They just couldn't work anymore. All the coping mechanisms of how we would patch together the car, which reminds me, I can remember in my first marriage, we had a Lada, which is like, an old Russian car. And that car was held together by more bean cans than I can tell you. And so, those bean cans all along the muffler were a little bit like our coping strategies of addictions. We're patching together the things that fall off, maybe some duct tape, a little bit of, bubble gum might be holding the mirror on, so we have all these pretty shoddy coping mechanisms that keep the car going, keep us going for a really long period of time. And then boom, we have this catalytic situation that fries the electrics of the car, and then we have no choice. We are given absolutely no choice but to bring the car in for repair. And that repair is your bed. And that's where you start getting some rest. As you're going through these purges, it's like we are like tearing out all of those bean cans and duct tape and other methods that we used to hold the car together, and dealing with all of the underlying issues, which could be physical health issues, it could be emotional issues, it could be mental health issues, all these issues. And we're clearing it out because we have to rebuild the car basically from the ground out. We got to buff out all the dents. We got to, and the mechanic has said to you, listen, this car is going to be out of commission for a couple years. It's going to take me a couple years to get up and running. And you're like, a couple years? What am I going to drive? I got to do things. How am I supposed to do if I can't do? And the mechanic's like, not my problem, really. You've run this thing into the ground, and this is the only one you get. You don't get to go buy another body. And so this is your vehicle, and you're going to have to like put up and shut up and deal with it. So you're put into isolation as the car's in getting repaired, and you're going through this process of total recalibration, renewal, all the words, and it's exhausting. It takes so long. It elicits a lot of frustration because our egoic mind wants to be in the car driving and going somewhere and getting somewhere. When we don't feel like we're going anywhere or getting anywhere, it feels like failure. And so then we're left to sit in it. We have to sit in the feeling like failure. We have to sit in the, did I make a mistake? Did I look at all the mistakes I must have made driving my car into the ground like that? Geez, that must have been me. Because who else is around? And then we have to start taking responsibility. And in the stillness, in the isolation, we start to dig out and do the real spiritual work, and not the passive spiritual work. So I am going to put my hand up and take ownership 100%. So I started down the path of spirituality when I was 18 or 19, 20. You know, I was really interested. My program that I went to in college was a native-based program. So that was the Ojibwe community in northern Canada, is not very far north, northern Ontario, north enough. It was north enough. And so I was first introduced to, the medicine wheel teachings, and those as my kind of gateway into the wonderful world of spirituality. From there, I went to university where I was really interested in anthropology and took a good few of those courses, and, cultural studies. And I was interested in learning about Wicca and those kinds of things. I was like, oh, this is very fascinating. This is very interesting indeed. I met a couple of people that were in my university town that I went to that were Wicca. And so, I was open. I was in this, like, I'm going to just discover things. And then not long after, I got an opportunity to live and teach English in Japan. And in Japan, it's a Buddhist country primarily. So Buddhism became really interesting for me, and I would find the Gaijin bookstore, which means, white people bookstore, that had literature in English, because you couldn't watch TV or listen to programs or anything because it was all in Japanese. So I had a lot of time on my hands when I wasn't teaching to be reading. And that's when I started deep diving into philosophy and into Buddhism and into world religions. And I love that time. I actually, in that time, read the Iliad. Now, my God, you need to have time on your hands, right? Read that. But anyways, side note. And then I returned to Canada for a small stretch before I went then and flew off to Ireland, where I lived for a decade in the west of Ireland. And there is where I actually got introduced to Reiki. It wasn't in Japan. It was in Ireland. And I was also introduced to a lot of, Catholicism. And I was also introduced to a lot of, Celtic traditions. So I've been looking high and low all over the world, literally, for me to find answers to my quest of understanding basically the root cause of suffering and the way out. Is what I wanted, because I'd been suffering my whole life. So this brings us into the archetype of the wounded healer. archetype. And a lot of people are drawn in to professions because they themselves are seeking a solution to their own suffering. So when I was pulled into Reiki, and Reiki was like, it was like all the angels started singing and things started to make sense to me for the first time ever. And when the more I learned about the chakra system and the more I learned and went down this path, so, introduction to angels and crystals and color theory and color therapy and art therapy and all these different things, I was like, oh, yes, this makes so much sense to me. But that's the key there is this makes so much sense to me. So spirituality for me for a very long period of time was a knowledge-based pursuit. And I started my business when I moved back to Canada as a Reiki practitioner and master. I used to teach and do attunements for other students, as well as teach some of my own course content, which is what I pull for my videos in regards to the chakra system. And so I went from learning to teaching, but what I didn't do was practicing. And so that is passive spirituality. Passive spirituality is understanding things from the mind's point of view, and not doing the actual work. So unfortunately, myself, as well as many others, get kind of stuck on this landing, on this staircase of conscious awareness called spiritual ego. And in spiritual ego, it's like, I know stuff, therefore I can do stuff. I can teach stuff. But that isn't actually the heart of spirituality. The heart of spirituality is within the practice of it, the implementing it. So this is when we shift out of judging others and looking at ourselves and our own judgment. This is when we step out of the know-it-all archetype of I have lots of information about crystals, therefore I'm very spiritual. This is when we step out of a lot of basically what I'm trying to say is we step more into integrity when we begin the process of actual practice. So this catalyst of this kundalini awakening is about waking up inside of us the truth of spirituality so that we can embody it instead of knowing it, and live it instead of teaching it. We teach it through living. We teach it through practice and being in our beingness. Because I can absolutely, through this entire awakening that I've been on, seen the collapse of my ego over and over and over again. And at this point, I'm quite practiced at observing when certain energies are coming up, and I'm identifying because of the triggers, of learning the triggers of like, oh, look at me. In this moment, I'm being quite prideful. Oh, look at me. In this moment, I'm being quite controlling. Oh, in this moment, I'm being quite judging. And so on and so on and so on and so on. We have a lot of aspects of selves that we keep in the shadow, thinking that we are okay. And, well, I'm not like that. So, and look at me, I'm spiritual. So I'm fine, or it's often incongruence because you'll see healers who they themselves are not healthy. And that was me. My health was on a steady decline when I decided to shut up shop about 10 years ago. I had reached a burnout place because I couldn't continue with the incongruence of my energetics, I wasn't able to like practice Reiki when I myself was getting cluttered and clogged up with energies. And so I was getting fatter, I was getting more depressed, I was getting sicker, all of these things. And so I wasn't a clean vessel. I wasn't a flute. Is the way that I always look at Reiki, is like you are the flute in which God plays through you. You yourself aren't actually doing anything. It's not like when you're doing Reiki, you're like, I'm giving you Reiki, I'm using my superpowers, and if you are taught that that's what you're doing when you're doing Reiki, that's not how you do Reiki, and you'll get burnt out. It's allowing yourself to be clear so that it flows through you. Well, nothing's going to flow through you if you yourself aren't open, and if you yourself have all these blockages and things that need to be cleared out. So I do, and it's not that I'm trying to be mean or anything. I'm certainly not, but I do question sometimes some healers that I see that I am observing. Okay, you're providing a service, but your life is needing some service. your vehicle is needing to go in to repair. And so even there, there's a judgment that I'm observing, so I can like look at myself through a mirror of that and go, oh, look, I need to put myself into repair. I need to close up shop and heal thyself. That is the first job of any healer, is heal thyself. And so this healing journey that I've been on since 2021 or before 2019 has been insane. It's been so crazy, but it's been so necessary. It's a necessary discomfort. Medicine isn't pleasant. And this was definitely, you sit down and you start taking your own medicine. And that's exactly what I did. And this is like spirit who is the mechanic in this situation, saying this vehicle is out of commission, and we're going to work on it, and you're going to tolerate it, and you're going to put up with it, and you're going to learn all of the things that you haven't learned, so you can step into the embodiment of these practices, and therefore then step into the role of being leader, teacher, healer, whatever it is that your soul is calling you into. And from my egoic knowing mind, as where I started from, I never would have imagined that it would have taken this long, and it's still taking this long, because clearly if last night I'm still having purges, I'm still having like releases, I'm still going through physical things, to recalibrate my system, my entire system, so that I could fully embody and be in active spiritualness, which isn't dressing a certain way, needing certain crystals, although, I bought this necklace years ago and I like it. It's got some cool crystals in it. Or using anything outside of yourself, or checking with anyone outside of yourself, or seeking anything outside of yourself, because the true embodiment of spirituality is going within. It's being with it. It's turning off the phone. It's putting the phone down. It's not looking for YouTube videos. It's not reading texts. It's not knowing anything. It is being everything and nothing. And just lying in it. And sometimes that's lying in it for hours, and sometimes it's not comfortable, and sometimes it's the worst stuff in the world, because you're facing all of your shadows, you're facing all of your demons, you're facing all of the truth within. And that truth can manifest for, likely all of us in different phases of anxiety, fears, insecurities, embarrassments, shame, all these types of things, emotions that we've been locking away and ignoring and putting into shadow, all need to come up to be cleared out so that they can be alchemized and transmuted into compassion, openness, surrender, patience, non-duality, one after another, we just keep getting like tested and tested and tested and tested. So last night, I was bawling, crying, and it's not a pleasant sensation for anybody to, it's one thing when you have just like a tear like rolling down your face, but like when you're in heaves of release, it's very difficult and it's very overwhelming. But that is when you are actually actively practicing your spirituality and actively practicing what it is to be in the observer and to allow yourself to release what is no longer in your highest and greatest good. We say all these phrases in the camp of spirituality and New Age, and a lot of them are not only nonsensical, they're just absolute bullshit. And so be careful with how you speak to people and how you speak to yourself, because if you're saying things like just let it go, which is like one of my all-time irritations when people, because there isn't a practical step like saying, oh, first you open your fingers and then you turn your hand upside down. If letting it go was that easy, then everybody would do it. The reason why people don't let it go and are holding on to stuff is because there's a trauma attached. There's a fear attached to that if I release this coping strategy, this thought pattern, this behavior, then there's going to be a dire consequence on the other side of it. If I emoted in the past, I would have gotten hit. If I said my truth, I would have gotten abandoned. If I stood up and did my own thing, I would have been rejected. So to say to somebody, just let it go, whatever is coming up, is one of the most dismissive and hoity type of phrases. Or telling somebody to change their vibes is also a definite sign that somebody has not done their own work, because anybody who's doing the work knows changing your vibes means to actually be in it. And that's warrior work. That's very, very difficult, hard work. It is to sit in the extreme purge, to sit in the extreme panic, to sit in the fears and the terrors, So to say to somebody who is experiencing depression or fear or anything that they are problematic because of what they're doing shows a complete ignorance in what is active spirituality, because that is active. Passive is repressing your vibes, your emotions, and feigning false positivity. That is a passive form of spirituality. Passive forms of spirituality are all about pretense, and they are not backed by the experience. So do be wary on the spiritual path that when you go to seek guidance outside of yourself, make sure that it's resonating with you as compassionate and truth. And if you're feeling off about something, please, please, please trust your intuition, because that is when the practice that is being asked of is for you to go inside and sit with that and say, what's coming up in this situation around this person, regardless of, how many long flowy skirts they are adorning and, the vocab, the word salad that they might be saying. I've met along my path a lot of people that can perform spirituality very, very well. And in the performance art, a lot of people go, here, have my money. and yes, heal me, fix me. But a true spiritual leader will always say, go and sit with yourself. They will never say, here, give me, and I'm going to heal you, and I'm going to fix you, and I'm going to, open your chakras, and I'm going to do magic on you. That's not how it works. A true spiritual teacher, one that has integrity, is always going to be promoting you to look within you, to keep looking within you, and to keep facing what is within you. Face the fear that is within you. Yes, there are tools and there are techniques and there are strategies that can be used. And there are people such as myself that can create a safe container for you to be able to do that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you are your own guru. And that is what the age of Aquarius is bringing us into, and bringing us out of this false performance art, and bringing us into real spiritual beingness, where we are going to embody, and the process is difficult because it does kind of feel, I've joked a little bit, because it does kind of feel like going into that machine with the Fly in the movie The Fly, Jeff Goldblum, and being like transformed into like something new. So along the path, people are going to face some dark stuff because the mind is losing control. So the age of Pisces was all about knowledge and the mind, and thinking we knew it all, thinking we had it all sorted out and had all the answers. And what we're right at the precipice now of discovering is we don't know it all. Thinking is actually debilitating our growth. It's a calculator. You don't want the calculator to run everything. It's a tool. Thinking is a tool to use, but we don't want that to be what's running the show. We want what's running the show to be spirit in us, embodied in us, souled. So we are moving out of a computer-driven car, which is ego, and moving into a spirit-driven car, which is soul. And in this new car, our vehicle, our body, we are all working as one unit. It's a sensory unit. So we just sense. We don't need an outside source to tell us the wheels are out of alignment. We go within ourselves and we are one with the car. So we're like, oh, I am physically out of alignment right now. Okay, I need to adjust my posture. Oh, I am physically experiencing this system. I am feeling it. I am going within. I am the guru. I am the knowing. I am the intuitive voice. I am the wisdom. I am the process. So that the more we embody soul, we then go out into the world, and in that in-souled state, we are actively being spiritual beings, spreading the knowledge through beingness, not necessarily like banging people over the head with it. You need to wake up. You're so unawake, because you realize they're exactly where they need to be at this precise moment in time. And it's not me that's running it. It's not my ego. I don't need to wake up anybody. I need to surrender. Is what I need to do. I need to take care of me. I need to be responsible for me and surrender to spirit and say that, like, listen, this is above my pay grade, and that person is not my department. So I'm going to just be me, radiate out my light, and carry on if they're not in the same resonance as me. And they will waken at their time, on their wave, in divine time, in divine way. It's not my business, not my problem. As that is the embodiment of spirituality, is seeing the unity that all is one, and all is one doing different things at different times. So all is also uniquely separate in that it's not our job. And this is where, spirituality for me really is about a coming together, but also an individuation of coming apart, because in society, which reflects our own individual stories of being enmeshed in narcissistic situations, the concept of boundaries has been very, very blurred for a long period of time. And so the seeking of freedom, which is my ultimate, the seeking of freedom means allowing this person to exist as they are without the need to tell them how they're doing anything wrong or tell them what they need to improve, or being a know-it-all or being a guide or a guru, and just instead, you can say your truth, that's fine, but you can't convince anybody of anything else. That's a cross of a boundary. That's robbing them of their own spiritual path and being their own guru. If I'm my own guru, you're your own guru. And I can say, what's worked for me on this path, and say, hey, listen, quitting sugar has worked for me, and quitting the carbs and doing some meditating, these are all worked for me. And you can go, oh, that's interesting. That's not what I want to do. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing over here, and I'm going to do it in my own time, in my own way. And we go, okay. And then we just keep on going and being. So listen and be observant in this new energy of boundaries, because it's not our job to fix anybody else. It is not. No matter, and that is in my past, like a desperate attempt to, if I can fix other people, I can be more comfortable with me, because the energy's off. And so now it's totally different, because now it's like, oh, energy's off. I can go fix me over there. I'm going to just create a greater degree of space. So it's kind of like a new flowing of energy of allowing everybody to do their own thing. At the same time is understanding collectively we are still all one. Within the one, we are individuals responsible for different things. So, they're white blood cells and you're red blood cells. So they're responsible for their own stuff. You are not responsible for anybody else's emotions, anybody else's healings, anybody else's journey, anybody else's sobriety, anybody else's awakening. You're not. And if you are finding yourself crossing a boundary into some trying to fix, repair, heal, sacrifice yourself, or, martyr yourself in the name of the relationship or this person, that's when you, again, have to practice your own embodiment of spirituality and say, oh, okay, I need to go meditate. You're irritating me right now. So I'm going to leave this situation and go cry, purge, release, go to a rage room if you want. I got to work on me. I got to work on me. And keep bringing it back to me, to me, to me. So today's video, I just really wanted to stress how much I value each of you that are doing your work on this journey. I know it's incredibly difficult. It is one challenge after another challenge after another challenge. It takes an exceptionally long amount of time to recalibrate your nervous system, which is one thing that's being shifted and changed, as well as going through all the layers of clearing out anything and everything that no longer resonates with your soul. I am here in any capacity that I can be to help assist you on your journey. More and more, soul keeps nudging me and pushing me to just be there for people who need help. I can't climb into your living room and do the work for you. I can't tell you one way or another the absolute path to health and wellness for you. I can give you tools. I can give you techniques. I can hold space. But at the same time, I am still just within me. I'm still just one soul doing one soul's little thing over here. And so I hope nobody feels like I'm beating them over the head with anything. I share my truths to help support you on this path. And if you're struggling, I am here. More and more, I have been just surrendering to this process so that I myself can just be in the now and be just be me and surrender to the divine so that I am exactly what Neptune wants me to be, which is an active spiritual being. I hope all of that resonates, and thank you for all the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, the supers, the donations. Thank you for joining the Spiritual Warrior Support Group. Thank you for joining the Spiritual Warrior Support Group Zoom meetings. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. is the next meeting that will be held. And then Wednesdays is being moved to 7 p.m. to accommodate people getting home from work in time. And then Friday, April the 4th, we're having our first dance off. Which is a playlist I've created to dance off your emotions, and information for all of that is in the Spiritual Warrior Support Group. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I am open to hearing them. I am sending you all my absolute love and peace in.